Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Welcome to episode 6 of the series Filtering Out What the Prophet ﷺ Never Said. Someone asked about the hadith mentioned in Tafsir al-Bukhari, and I think they meant Sahih al-Bukhari. It's not a book of tafsir, even though it does have some hadith clarifying or providing tafsir for some verses, or the context for how, when or why they were revealed. But it's Sahih Bukhari is a book of ahadith which compiled ahadith from the Prophet ﷺ, and Imam Bukhari had specifically had certain requirements to include only which is authentic. Imam Bukhari and his Sahih Bukhari, and then Sahih Muslim. Those are the two books which the scholars hold in high regards because they had very strict requirements to include only what is authentic in their books of hadith, and we'll talk in more details about these books inshallah. But so in Sahih Bukhari that says the Prophet ﷺ tried to commit suicide. So is this authentic or not? So this edition, so there's a hadith narrated from Aisha radiallahu anha about wahi, about revelation, and then later on this is mentioned after that hadith, after it, that and this is not from what Aisha radiallahu anha narrated, but rather it's from the statement of Az-Zuhri. It's from the statement of Az-Zuhri, rahimahullah, who was one of the tabi'een, who was narrator of hadith, but he says, Fima balagana, we've heard, meaning he didn't narrate this. He said, we heard that when this happened, the Prophet ﷺ, tried to, go on top of the mountains, throw himself, otherwise, try to commit suicide. But that's not authentic. He's saying we heard. He didn't mention a chain of narration, and it's there's a disconnect there. So he's not saying who he heard it from, and as such, that shows that this chain of narration is disconnected, and so it's broken. It's not an authentic narration. So that part is not authentically established. That the Prophet ﷺ tried to commit suicide, that is weak. It's a weak narration, and it's not connected. We see that Zuhri said we heard, and he didn't actually say who he heard it from. He didn't actually provide a chain that could be analyzed then to determine if it's authentic or not. And so that disconnect makes this narration of his inauthentic, makes it weak. And it's important to note that some people might say it's in Sahih Bukhari, so automatically you might assume that it's authentic. But that reference, it's important to note that not everything that is included in Bukhari is according to Imam Bukhari's standards. Doesn't mean he included everything in there that is according to the standards. In this example, after he narrated authentic hadith, what was mentioned after it from the statement of Az-Zuhri, not from Aisha who narrated that hadith, but rather the statement of Az-Zuhri, that's not something that was authentic or even according to Imam Bukhari's standard. But it was part of it because it was part of the same narration. Aisha mentioning the hadith, and then after it, Zuhri said, so everyone narrating the hadith narrated it exactly how they heard it, and that's why it was included in there, even though it wasn't authentic. So it's important to make a note of that, and sometimes Imam Bukhari in his Sahih would include a hadith without their chains, or with we'll talk in more details inshallah a different time about that in more depth. But the point is, it's important to be cautious about that. So again, this is an example of something that is not authentic. It's weak. It's a weak narration, which is found in Sahih Bukhari. But that doesn't mean it's according to Imam Bukhari's standard. It doesn't mean it's authentic. So it is not authentically established. It's not true that the Prophet ﷺ tried to commit suicide. Barakallahu fikum, jazakumullah khaira, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.